A group of rare silver slimes is spotted, and they're valuable targets. There are 4 of them. One of the hunters advises caution, emphasizing that they can't let the slimes escape. Another character suddenly rushes toward the slimes, catching the others off guard. The slimes attempt to flee, but the character chases them with determination. The character strikes the slimes with precision, dealing powerful critical damage. The attack is successful, and the team celebrates their win. The protagonist, with glowing eyes, gears up for the task, displaying his confident and sharp focus. After defeating the slimes, the player receives S-rank items: silver slime armor, gauntlets, and shoes. The character admires the shiny new equipment earned as rewards for the critical hits. The other characters are amazed, noting that all the attacks were critical hits, leading to rare drops. One character comments on how lucky the protagonist is for obtaining such valuable items. The protagonist reviews the S-rank items on his interface, marveling at the incredible loot. The protagonist marvels at his fortune, feeling it's a reward for past struggles. A flashback reveals the protagonist as an 85-year-old bronze-rank adventurer. Adventurers gather on the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon, preparing for the challenge ahead. A man shows evidence of monsters attacking outside, creating panic among the adventurers. The scene depicts monsters ravaging the area, making it unsafe for anyone to remain outside. People scramble to move deeper into the dungeon, fearing more monsters will emerge from below. A young adventurer urges the old man to escape, saying this isn't the time to be hunting slimes. The old man silently pulls away as the young adventurer tries to stop him. The old man ignores the warning and walks toward a group of slimes in the distance. Others observe him from afar, sensing something unusual about his behavior and resolve. Another adventurer shouts and physically pushes the old man aside, calling him a slime geezer. The old man sits on the ground, still holding his sword, seemingly unaffected by the insult or situation. The narration reflects on how much time has elapsed since the founding of adventurers. The old man, despite his aged appearance, clings to his sword, reminiscing about the system. The narration explains the adventurer system, where growth depends on the individual. Defeating monsters increases levels, which in turn boosts an adventurer's stats. A character checks their stats after leveling up, expressing dissatisfaction over minimal strength gain. The system occasionally grants adventurers magic or special abilities, further highlighting the dynamics of progression. The old man looks at his stats, lamenting his efforts but showing his resolve. Despite reaching level 98, his stats are significantly low compared to others. He grits his teeth, reflecting on his struggles and the efforts he made over the years. A flashback shows him fighting tirelessly against monsters, giving his all in every battle. His primary goal was to avoid losing to anyone else, pushing himself to his limits. He reveals that he hunted weak monsters relentlessly to climb to level 98, driven by sheer persistence. The old man reflects on how he was the only one who kept pushing himself to this extreme, battling tirelessly. He stands amidst a desolate field after another fight, exhausted yet determined. His sword drops to the ground, symbolizing his weariness and relentless effort. He resolves to fight just one more battle, believing that reaching the highest level will make all his struggles worthwhile. The old man tightens his fist, preparing himself to take on another group of slimes. Despite his age and condition, he charges with fierce determination, ready to fight once again. The old man fights fiercely against the slimes, confident that his status is improving, late but surely. He channels all his strength, pushing through the fight with unshakable determination. As he lands a decisive blow, the energy of the slime surges, marking a crucial moment in his efforts. A notification announces that Takahashi Yukito has finally reached the maximum level, fulfilling his long. He looks at his hands in disbelief and relief, overwhelmed by his achievement. Tears streaming, he asks to be rewarded for all the hardships he has endured throughout his journey. A system notification appears, saying, "Your strength has increased by 1. The character seems to have achieved a stat boost." The character's stats are displayed with strength +1 highlighted, showing their current attributes at level 99. A close-up of the stats, focusing on the +1 increase in strength. A distressed older man sweating, possibly overwhelmed or reacting to something shocking. The man collapses on the ground, yelling in frustration, "Are you messing with me? It was all for nothing." The man appears in despair, questioning, "Are you trying to say there's nothing for me?" The man kneels in a blood-red field, saying, "I no longer have any hope," while red eyes glow in the darkness behind him. A menacing skeletal demon figure emerges, surrounded by dark energy. A horde of terrifying demonic creatures approaches, hinting at an impending battle or destruction. The old man reflects on his life, describing it as horrible, His expression shows deep regret and pain. He remembers being looked down upon by everyone around him, symbolizing his isolation and low self-worth. He recalls his inability to save his mother, who cherished him deeply, adding to his guilt and sorrow. He also regrets ruining his younger sister's happiness, shown as her wedding picture shatters, symbolizing her broken joy. The statement, "This life is," begins with his face filled with tears, hinting at a climactic revelation. A large demonic claw smashes into the ground, signifying a deadly and chaotic turn of events. A system error occurs, declaring, "A fatal error has occurred with Takahashi Yukito's status system," indicating a critical malfunction. The system decides to apply a repair patch and roll back his life, suggesting a potential restart or correction of his tragic life. The system grants the character an apology bonus, unlocking hidden parameters and adding 9,999 unique status points, signifying a massive power-up. The character seems disoriented, looking at someone serving him something, possibly in a new setting. The person addresses him with, "Congratulations, Takahashi Yukito-san," suggesting he has achieved something significant. The person informs him that he is now an adventurer, marking a new chapter in his life. The character reacts with surprise, saying, "Eh?" as he processes the information. Someone asks him if there's something wrong, hinting that his reaction might seem unusual to others. He nervously declines the question and thanks the person, trying to act normal despite his confusion. The character is shown standing alone in a hallway, holding a device, possibly contemplating his next step. A close-up of the character's face reveals his uneasiness or doubt about his situation. The character checks their phone and recalls that this is the day they registered with the Adventurers Guild. Confused, the character wonders what happened and remembers seeing status bonuses just before dying. The character examines their current stats, noticing they are at level 1 and the same as before, reacting with a sense of familiarity. The character realizes they can scroll down the status menu, revealing more hidden information. A close-up of their shocked expression as they discover something unexpected. The character notices their luck stat is maxed out at an extraordinary value, questioning what happened to their status. The character discovers a luck status in their profile with a maximum value, and wonders if this existed before. They recall that luck was a hidden parameter in their past life and can't believe its current visibility. Reflecting on their misfortune, the character emphasizes that they endured 70 years of bad luck. A flashback shows their distressed past, highlighting their struggles and suffering. Determined, the character decides to test their luck by hunting slimes, setting out with confidence. The setting shifts to a bright open field labeled Tokyo Dungeon First Floor, indicating a new adventure begins. Spotting slimes, the character cheerfully remarks, "Oh, there they are," showing optimism. Looking at the slimes in a peaceful field, they comment, "This feels like home," expressing comfort and familiarity. The protagonist senses something unusual nearby and turns around with curiosity. He spots something and wonders if it could be what he thinks it is. He discovers a rare silver slime shining brightly in the grass. He recalls the silver slime being an ultra-rare monster that appeared only once in his previous life. He remembers that the silver slime escaped quickly the last time he encountered it. He notes that the silver slime provides a huge amount of experience points but is infamous for its swift escapes. Preparing to attack, he carefully calculates that one more step will bring him within range to strike. Suddenly, an arrow strikes nearby, interrupting him. Someone shouts, apologizing for misfiring. Frustrated and angry, he yells at the person for ruining his chance, calling them an idiot. The silver slime splits into two, startled by the sudden arrow nearby. The protagonist notices the slimes attempting to escape, dashing forward to stop them. The slimes flee at high speed, creating a dramatic and chaotic scene. A close-up of the silver slime as it zooms away with incredible velocity. The protagonist prepares to strike, determined to counter the slime's movements. He successfully executes a counterattack, directly hitting the silver slime with precision. The blade pierces through the slime, breaking it apart and revealing its core. The slime bursts into pieces, releasing a glowing gem, signifying its defeat. The protagonist levels up 4 times instantly, exhausted but triumphant after the battle. The protagonist's weapon breaks after hitting a silver slime. He realizes the slimes are strong and plans to buy a better weapon. While examining something glowing, he notices a light emerging from it. He's shocked and exclaims, "No way!" An S-rank weapon appears as a rare drop. He is thrilled to get a strong weapon right at the start of his adventure. The weapon has high attack power, but a slight drawback in accuracy. Confidently, he prepares to hunt more creatures with his new weapon. He encounters 4 silver slimes and wonders if it's a dream. The slimes charge at him aggressively, forcing him to fight. He decides to face the challenge despite knowing it'll be tough to defeat all of them. The protagonist mentions the weapon's miss feature, hinting at its difficulty in hitting consistently. Despite the drawback, he resolves to fight with determination. He successfully lands critical hits on the slimes with precise strikes. Swinging the S-rank weapon, he unleashes a powerful attack, defeating multiple slimes at once. The defeated slimes drop shiny loot, likely valuable items. He expresses relief at managing to defeat all the slimes. After this victory, he continues hunting for another hour. In total, he encounters and battles 10 silver slimes, shown humorously with a small chibi version of himself. The protagonist receives rare loot from every silver slime, but his bag is now full. He reflects on his incredible luck, realizing it's too good to doubt anymore. Overjoyed, he exclaims that his luck is real and celebrates his success. Exhausted but satisfied, he lies down on the grass, staring at the sky. Gazing into the sky, he vows to use this power to achieve something meaningful. He dreams of becoming someone great to bring happiness to his family. His motivation includes helping his sick mother recover. He also dreams of seeing his sister happily married, a moment of pride and joy for him. The protagonist sits up suddenly, realizing he doesn't even know if he has a home to return to anymore. Reflecting on his life, he remembers that he has been alone for 70 years. Gripping his sword tightly, he expresses his deep longing to go home. A teleportation circle activates, representing his strong desire. He begins to run, filled with determination to meet his family again. With urgency and passion, he shouts that he must reunite with them right now. The protagonist arrives at an old apartment building, catching his breath. He wonders which room on the second floor is his. Reflecting on his past, he recalls being homeless for a long time and forgetting his room. He recognizes his room number as 23 upon seeing the nameplate. He nervously reaches for the doorknob. Trying to calm himself, he questions why he's feeling so anxious. Gaining courage, he says, "All right," preparing to face what's inside. The door opens slightly, revealing a person inside. A girl greets him casually with, "Ah." The girl enthusiastically greets the protagonist, calling him Big Brother and welcoming him back. Overwhelmed with emotion, he immediately hugs her tightly, calling her Nozomi. Surprised, she asks what he's doing and wonders if it's a prank. She playfully tells him to let go, but he holds on firmly. As determined, he vows that this time, he won't let anyone take away what's precious to him. With a fierce resolve, he silently protects her, his grip tightening, ensuring her safety. The protagonist and the girl, Nozomi, are sitting at a table. He tells her everything that has happened so far. Nozomi looks amazed and asks if they can use the same luck to save her mom. The protagonist smiles confidently and says, "Of course, all it takes is a bit of effort," while holding a drink. The protagonist trades rare items for a significant amount of money. He uses the money at an auction to buy an expensive item. The protagonist bids 1,000,000 confidently. The highest grade status ailment recovery potion is acquired from the auction. The view shifts to a hospital building, indicating the next destination. The protagonist and Nozomi arrive at the hospital and knock on a door, preparing to meet someone inside. The protagonist and the girl visit their mom in the hospital, smiling warmly. The mother asks how they have been, showing her care. He smiles and says, "Mom, that's our line," teasing her. The girl presents souvenirs to her mom, who thanks them with a warm smile. She gently scolds them, asking not to spend money on her and to take care of themselves instead. The protagonist tells their mom not to worry about money anymore, while the girl enthusiastically adds that they have another gift. The mom looks intrigued and asks, "What is it?" The protagonist presents the glowing potion and says he wants her to drink it. The girl explains that her brother earned money from the dungeon to buy the potion. Mom expresses disbelief, questioning how he managed it as a new adventurer. The protagonist admits, "I was just lucky," feeling humble about his achievements. He hands the glowing potion to his mom, saying, "Here, drink it." She opens the potion bottle, ready to drink it. Mom takes a sip of the potion. The potion begins to work and her body glows with magical energy. She says, "Ara?" in surprise. The protagonist and his sister nervously ask, "How is it?" She feels lighter and can breathe easily, smiling with relief. He smiles warmly, saying, "That's great." The sister enthusiastically praises her brother, saying, "Good job, big brother," while giving him a cheerful high five. Mom drinks the potion but says it tastes bad. The protagonist humorously offers her a palate cleanser. Mom's symptoms ease and the illness progression halts, as explained by the doctor. Mom starts physical therapy to regain her strength. She receives permission for home care, signifying her recovery. Mom expresses her joy about living together as a family again, calling it a dream. The girl assures her it's real. Mom finds peace and comfort in her home while doing daily chores. The sister is glad their mom is better, but the protagonist remains thoughtful. The sister asks why he seems unsatisfied. The protagonist reveals that the potion is only a temporary fix and cannot completely cure the illness. Sister asks what they should do to cure their mom. The protagonist replies they need a powerful, legendary L-rank item. The protagonist mentions elixir as an example, showing its glowing image. The sister seeing the elixir on TV, mentioning that top adventurers found it. The broadcast explains that the elixir can save someone on the brink of death, but only appears on dungeon floors below 50 and cannot be bought. The sister confirms it's a unique and rare item. He agrees and explains unique items are special and tied to the one who earns them. The scene humorously illustrates that unique items require defeating a powerful being, symbolizing glory. The sister concludes they must obtain the item themselves since it can't be bought, and the protagonist confirms it. As they discuss their plan, they continue washing dishes together, preparing for the challenging journey ahead. The sister asks if her brother can go deeper than the 50th floor. He says it's normally impossible and jokes about dying a dog's death. She panics, questioning how they can accomplish it if it's impossible. Smirking, he clarifies that he said, normally. He explains that his power isn't just luck. It's also knowledge from his past life. He reveals that the elixir can appear on upper floors, not just the lower ones. The ancient golem, a 20th floor boss, is shown as a fearsome opponent. The elixir is highlighted as the boss's unique and extremely rare drop. He states that the elixir's appearance rate is extremely low since it's a rare drop from a rare monster. The protagonist recalls his past life, mentioning a rare occurrence he only heard of once. He reflects on his current luck, smiling while opening the fridge. The sister notices his scheming expression while doing dishes and comments on it. The protagonist, holding a bottle, questions if he really had such an expression. The sister cheerfully teases him, saying he can do anything because he's her big brother. The protagonist smirks confidently, seemingly amused by the situation. The protagonist pours drinks into 3 glasses and confidently says, "That's a given." While holding a glass, he states that he needs to make some preparations, catching the sister's attention. The sister looks curious and asks, "Preparation?" The protagonist smirks confidently, thinking, there's always a loophole to everything. The protagonist, Takahashi Yukito, wields the greatsword of the silver slime, which has special effects but a 30% chance to miss. His sister questions if he's properly equipped for the dungeon, as most warriors wear heavy armor. Yukito admits his stats are too low to wear heavy gear. His status screen shows that his only high stat is luck. He realizes he can't equip strong gear, so his only option is to rely on his sword skills. He unlocks a new skill, Great Layering Strike, which has a 30% chance of a triple critical attack. His sister suggests a way to increase his stats and mentions something about the 5th floor. He arrives at a mysterious place called Malice Crown. She mentions that monsters drop the rare miracle fruit, which might help him grow stronger. His sister tells him to be careful before he leaves. She hands him a lunchbox, worrying that he might not need it if he eats the miracle fruit. He accepts it gratefully. The lunchbox gets stored in his inventory. He heads out for the dungeon. He arrives at the Tokyo Dungeon's 5th floor, Alice Crown. The floor is filled with Plantor monsters and is known for making adventurers get lost. He checks his map, confident that he won't have any issues. However, he finds himself in the dense forest, possibly getting lost. Yukito finds the treant nest, preparing for battle. Treats his mimicry to blend in with trees, making them hard to detect. However, their mimicry isn't perfect, and Yukito knows their weaknesses. He identifies them by their leaf structure and root patterns. He throws an object to confirm the treant's presence. A giant treant emerges, revealing itself as a monster. The treant attacks, its glowing red eyes signaling danger. Yukito strikes with precision, saying, "Bullseye." He lands a critical hit, splitting the treant in half. Yukito notices something after defeating the treant. A rare drop, the miracle fruit, appears. He picks it up, surprised by its special properties. He tastes it, noting a mild pear or apple flavor. He decides that taste doesn't matter, as long as it works. His stats increase, confirming the miracle fruit's effect. He realizes its minor stat-boosting power. He continues the cycle of hunting and eating to grow stronger. After eating too much, he gets bored of the same taste. Yukito wonders if he has reached his growth limit as his stats have increased significantly. He checks his status screen, confirming his progress. Deciding to end his hunt for the day, he stretches and relaxes. Suddenly, he hears a noise, sensing someone nearby. He instantly reacts, demanding to know who's there. A group of hostile adventurers appear, accusing him of hogging the hunting grounds. Two suspicious men, a hooded figure and a brute, smirk menacingly. Yukito notices they lack adventurer IDs, suspecting they are crawlers, illegal hunters. The hooded man mocks Yukito, calling him a spoiled brat. The brute threatens him, saying if Yukito hands over his high-quality equipment, they might spare his life.
The armored man collapses on the ground, defeated. The protagonist confirms that everything activated as planned. The enemy used a high-level skill, proving he was stronger. The attack guarantees a hit, but lowers power by 30%. The protagonist's enchanted clothes helped reduce the damage. He realizes luck saved him from a fatal wound. The hooded enemy is shocked that his ally was defeated in one hit. The protagonist offers the enemy a chance to surrender. The hooded man retaliates, launching a fireball attack. The protagonist acknowledges the distance but prepares for action. The hooded enemy mocks him, assuming he is surrendering. The protagonist denies surrendering and activates an ability. He pulls out a mysterious weapon through the portal. Revealing his own magical staff, he stands confidently. The hooded man laughs maniacally, believing he has the advantage. He questions if the protagonist understands the weapon's power. The protagonist confidently acknowledges it. He reveals the Staff of Nonsense, glowing with powerful energy. The hooded man underestimates the protagonist, calling him an amateur. The Staff of Nonsense is a rare but unstable item that activates random magic. The odds of casting a useful spell are low, making it unreliable. There's a high chance of failure, with only a small chance of casting strong magic. Even hitting a 30% success rate is considered lucky. The protagonist activates the staff, treating it like a magical lottery. The hooded man prepares an intermediate-level fireball spell. He believes his magic power is superior due to his equipment bonus. He arrogantly declares himself the guaranteed winner. The hooded man declares the protagonist's luck has run out. He launches a massive fireball attack. A powerful explosion engulfs the battlefield. The protagonist calmly acknowledges that the enemy finally made a move. He confidently states that he has also completed his preparations. His staff glows with immense magical energy. A colossal flaming meteor forms as his counterattack. The burning meteor looms over the battlefield, ready to strike. The protagonist remains unfazed, preparing for the impact. The protagonist stands firm as flames engulf the battlefield. A massive flaming meteor descends toward the enemy. The hooded man panics as his fireball is completely overpowered. He is in disbelief, realizing the protagonist used an advanced spell. The meteor hurtles toward him with unstoppable force. He nervously laughs, convincing himself it's just an illusion. He screams in terror, begging for it to stop. Pure fear fills his face as he realizes his fate. A devastating explosion erupts, consuming everything in flames. The battlefield is left in ruins, with a massive crater from the impact. The hooded man is reduced to a burnt, defeated state. The protagonist looks at his broken staff, unfazed. He sighs as he inspects the damaged weapon. He discards the staff and walks away, apologizing. Reflecting on the battle, he acknowledges that he was just incredibly lucky. The protagonist declares victory after defeating his enemies. He realizes he must not leave the crawlers alive. He decides to take the bodies outside, despite the hassle. He restrains the captured enemies with ropes. He ensures they are securely tied up. He prepares to leave and head back above ground. A cute game-like transition shows him traveling back up. He hands over the captured crawlers to the police. After a long questioning session, he feels exhausted. The protagonist steps outside with a determined look. He apologizes for being late, explaining he ran into trouble. The receptionist informs him that the police already reported his actions. She happily congratulates him with excitement. He has ranked up to silver and receives a new badge. He is surprised by the promotion and questions if it's a mistake. The narration explains that reaching silver rank is usually very difficult. It requires completing special missions and hunting dangerous monsters. The receptionist confirms his promotion is deserved because he caught 2 criminals. The protagonist learns about the Red Arm, a dangerous crime group. The receptionist confirms he did a great job capturing them. She reveals that the criminals were as strong as silver-ranked adventurers. The protagonist realizes he unknowingly fought strong opponents and could have been in danger. He humbly says he was just lucky. The receptionist reassures him, saying even his modesty is silver-ranked. A diagram explains that adventurers can only challenge certain floors based on rank. He puts on his new silver rank badge. He sets his next goal clearing at least the 20th floor. The receptionist supports him, but warns about the difficulty of the 20th floor. She advises him not to challenge it alone. He acknowledges her advice and thanks her. He walks away, ready to take his next steps. He reflects on ranking up faster than expected and wonders if it was luck. Someone suddenly calls out to him. An old man in a suit asks for a moment of his time. The protagonist listens as the man identifies him as the adventurer who caught the gangsters. The wanted posters of the criminals he captured reveal their crimes and bounties. The protagonist confirms he defeated the criminals after they attacked him. The old man reacts emotionally, lowering his head. The old man thanks him sincerely, gripping his hands in gratitude. The protagonist is confused by the man's intense reaction. The old man reveals that the criminals had killed his son. He explains that even the police couldn't capture them, but the protagonist did. The protagonist humbly responds that he was just doing his duty as an adventurer. The old man deeply bows to show his gratitude. With tears in his eyes, he says he can now visit his son's grave with good news. The protagonist reflects that he was never thanked in his past life. He realizes that being appreciated actually feels good. He recalls how the world was destroyed in his past life, unable to change. He wonders if he should take action now that he knows the future. He doubts himself, reminding himself that he is not strong enough to change everything. He snaps himself out of his overthinking. He decides that his top priority is saving his mother. Determined, he walks toward his next goal. Elsewhere, a powerful and angry opponent slams his fist down in frustration. A furious man in hiding learns that Yamada and Hashimoto were defeated. He worries that the other gang members won't take this incident seriously. He realizes he can't pay tax to his boss due to the setback. He finds a newspaper with Takahashi Yukito's face and vows revenge. Enraged, he stabs the newspaper, swearing to kill Yukito. He acknowledges that Yukito took down 2 strong opponents alone. He admits Yukito must be strong, but still believes he has a way to deal with him. He prepares himself, showing confidence despite Yukito's strength. Wearing a cloak, he smirks, declaring that Yukito's luck has run out. The protagonist arrives on the 15th floor. He finds himself at the Lonely Death mountain peak. The terrain is narrow, winding, and dangerous. Due to its structure, it's hard to clear in a group. He reads that many have gone missing here, and crime is common. A weapon strikes the ground with force. He dodges an attack, seeing this as a perfect challenge for a solo hunter. He grabs his weapon, ready to fight. A giant bird attacks as he prepares for battle, aiming to level up for the 20th floor. The protagonist fights a giant bird to sharpen his skills. He originally planned to level up by hunting silver slimes, but after hunting too many, they stopped appearing. Facing stronger monsters, he decides to increase his kill count. With determination, he he prepares for the next battle. Floating rock monsters appear, forcing him to stay on guard. He leaps into battle against a ferocious beast. After intense fights, he acquires powerful new equipment. A mysterious man watches the protagonist from the shadows. The protagonist wields his silver slime greatsword with no armor. The observer recognizes him as Takahashi Yukito. Annoyed, he sees the protagonist as an intruder on his turf. He decides there's no need to attack immediately. He waits for the right moment to strike. Watching the protagonist set up camp, he grows curious. He realizes the protagonist plans to stay here for a while. A sudden idea sparks in his mind. The observer realizes he doesn't need to fight directly. He declares the land as his turf under a blood-red moon. Confident, he believes he has the upper hand. He understands that monsters have their own ecosystem. Using that knowledge, he plans to manipulate the balance. He slaughters predator birds to disrupt the ecosystem. He stands before a pit, waiting for the next phase of his plan. He throws something in, triggering an aggressive response. Swarms of monstrous insects awaken, their red eyes glowing in the dark. The monstrous insects rapidly grow stronger. Without predators, they begin overbreeding. The schemer waits patiently, knowing the time is near. He prepares his weapon, ready to act. Confident, he steps out, targeting an unlucky adventurer. His method ensures no outside interference. Holding insect repellent, he smirks, pleased with his plan. He scatters the repellent, setting his trap. The enraged insects, now uncontrolled, charge after their target. The schemer commands the insects to devour his target. He grins wickedly, wanting nothing left behind. Meanwhile, the protagonist defeats a beast effortlessly. Hearing a strange sound, he looks around cautiously. He notices a dark mass approaching from the distance. Confused, he mistakes it for black clouds. Realizing it's a swarm of death hoppers, his expression hardens. He prepares to fight, but knows it's too much alone. Understanding the danger, he makes a quick escape. The protagonist realizes he needs a team to survive. A memory sparks as he recalls a useful location. He remembers a supply base from his past life. Adventurers had built a stronghold, making survival easier. Strangely, this base was never documented in guides. Determined, he arrives at the base's location. Focused, he refuses to waste any time. He attacks the ground with force. A giant frog monster leaps toward him aggressively. The protagonist inspects the wall and notices a slight difference in the soil color. He urgently calls for help from Monster Panic. A shadow appears behind the wall, indicating something is inside. He looks tense as black particles fill the air. Determined, he prepares to break in, saying it's an emergency. The wall shatters violently from his attack. Inside, he finds many unconscious, half-dressed people in a dark tunnel. He looks shocked and slightly overwhelmed by the discovery. The three captives, gagged and lying on the ground, look worried and confused. The protagonist, seeing them, jokingly asks if he walked into something weird. The captives panic and struggle to communicate, clearly distressed. The protagonist skillfully dodges an attack with a smirk. He swiftly moves past the captives, striking down the enemies with his glowing weapon. A close-up of someone being restrained by dark tendrils. The freed captives express their gratitude, relieved to be saved. The protagonist casually asks them what happened. One of the captives explains they were attacked by crawlers and knocked unconscious. The girl realizes they were being held for human trafficking. The protagonist surveys the area, confirming it's the crawlers' crime den. He reflects on how this place was supposed to be a supply point for adventurers. He suddenly wonders if he has stumbled upon a future event. A vision shows police planning to raid this location soon. In the future, this place will be turned into a hub for adventurers. The protagonist smirks, realizing he discovered it before it happened. He recalls that in his past life, he was only obsessed with slimes for 70 years. The old man, unaware of time, calls 40-50-year-olds snot-nosed brats. The protagonist decides to think about it later, looking frustrated. A close-up of his eyes shows deep focus and concern. The group reflects on the unexpected situation. The protagonist, determined, acknowledges the limited manpower available. The girl understands the situation, thinking seriously. The protagonist urgently calls for everyone's attention. He warns them that a swarm of death hoppers is rapidly approaching. A terrifying mass of deadly insect-like creatures swarms toward them. A terrifying swarm of death hoppers advances with glowing red eyes. The captives panic upon realizing the sheer number of monsters. A man exclaims that this is a monster panic and there are too many to fight. The protagonist warns them that there's no time to hesitate. He commands them to cooperate if they want to survive. Some captives are skeptical about escaping such a massive threat. A girl panics, pointing out they have no weapons or armor. Another captive explains that all their equipment was stolen by crawlers. The protagonist confidently reveals that he has all the equipment they need. The protagonist accesses his inventory, revealing a vast collection of equipment. He summons a large amount of high-quality gear, letting it fall around him. The captives are shocked as rare weapons and armor appear before them. He confidently offers to transfer ownership of the equipment to them. A muscular man is stunned, realizing these are top-tier items. A young man and woman are amazed at how rare the items are. Someone questions the protagonist's identity, finding him mysterious. They note that he's never been seen in any ranking before. Excitedly, the captives start picking their weapons, eager to fight. The girl confidently puts on armor, saying it's more important than weapons. A blond man admires a glowing sword, realizing its high value. A girl in a mage robe asks if they can really take all the equipment. The protagonist hints that he has a request, but isn't forcing them. He asks if they will let him take command. Some members hesitate, but one argues that he saved their lives. They acknowledge that he also provided them with powerful gear. The girl enthusiastically agrees to follow his orders. A strong warrior declares his intent to fight, refusing to fall victim to the monster panic. The protagonist addresses the group, preparing them for battle. A flashback shows a fierce battle between warriors. The protagonist looks tense as he processes the situation. He expresses gratitude, possibly for their trust in him. The blonde knight and a round-faced man stand ready with confidence. The protagonist maintains a serious and determined expression. A hand reaches out, possibly signaling a command. The protagonist strategizes, suggesting they use the cave's narrow entrance. A diagram explains how limiting the enemy's entry will make the fight more manageable. The protagonist confidently commands to focus on reducing the enemy's numbers. A serious-looking knight listens attentively, slightly tense. A young girl in a maid outfit grips her staff, appearing concerned. The protagonist smirks while holding a glowing crystal, exuding confidence. With a determined expression, he declares it's time for battle, wielding his weapon. The protagonist rushes forward, preparing to attack as a flying insect monster charges at him. He swings his weapon, unleashing a powerful blue slash while chaos erupts around him. A mage in a purple cloak casts a spell, supporting the protagonist as enemies swarm from all directions. A fiery explosion bursts on the mountaintop, burning through the enemy swarm. Countless flying insects surge forward, creating an overwhelming wave of monsters. A large insect monster takes a direct hit, its head breaking apart from the attack. More insect monsters fill the cave, reinforcing their army as the battle intensifies. A soldier in black armor grips his sword tightly, panicking at the sheer number of enemies. Another soldier in red armor swings his weapon desperately, realizing the endless wave of monsters. The protagonist slashes with his weapon, but the attack has no effect. He starts doubting if they can actually stop the enemies. The ceiling begins to collapse as the protagonist looks up in shock. He quickly orders everyone to retreat while maintaining formation. Cracks spread across the ceiling and debris starts falling. A swarm of insect monsters rushes forward as people panic and flee. The group realizes the enemies are destroying the entire mountain. The protagonist, with a determined look, contemplates their next move. The mine is old and unstable, with rocks falling from the ceiling. Inside the cave, abandoned tools and a stick of dynamite lie on the ground. The protagonist's eyes widen as he notices something important. He spots the explosives on the ground, realizing their potential use. Holding a stick of dynamite, he considers how it could help. He urgently tells everyone to search for more dynamite in the area. A warrior hesitates but acknowledges the plan's potential. The group quickly gathers dynamite, preparing for their next move. Meanwhile, they continue to fight against the relentless Death Hoppers. The group rushes toward the battlefield as flying monsters attack. The battle continues for hours, exhausting the fighters. 2/3 of the triangular mountains are destroyed in the chaos. The group finds themselves cornered with no escape. A knight in red armor struggles, realizing the walls won't hold for long. The protagonist looks determined, searching for a way out. He prepares himself, realizing they have no choice left. He gathers the remaining fighters, preparing for one last move. The protagonist urgently calls for all the dynamite to be handed over. A bearded warrior doubts they have enough explosives to take down all the enemies. A girl warns that using dynamite will have little effect, like a drop in the ocean. Someone confidently holds up a bundle of dynamite, insisting it's enough. The protagonist reveals his plan to blow up the cliff and bury the enemies. A screen shows multiple dynamite charges as the protagonist analyzes the monster's behavior. He realizes the monsters will target the one who has killed the most himself. A woman sees cracks forming in the wall, warning that the cliff will collapse. Someone urgently yells for everyone to run as the situation turns critical. A soldier questions if the protagonist plans to sacrifice himself along with the enemies. The protagonist smirks confidently, telling everyone to believe in him. He stands alone as a massive swarm of monsters charges toward him. He knows that some moments in life require taking risks. He selects yes to use all 13 sticks of dynamite. He leaps into the air as the monsters chase him. With a grin, he taunts the monsters while falling. A warning appears he lacks the skill for explosives, with only a 50% success rate. His warrior class reduces the odds even further, making detonation uncertain. Against the odds, the system confirms that the explosives have been successfully used. The dynamite explodes, engulfing the battlefield in flames. The cliff collapses, sending a wave of monsters falling into the chaos. The protagonist watches as destruction unfolds around him. He swiftly lands on a rock to stabilize himself. With a quick movement, he flips midair, avoiding falling debris. Gripping his sword tightly, he prepares for a final attack. He unleashes his ultimate move, Great Layering Strike. A single monster remains, ready to strike. The protagonist, glowing with power, declares the battle's end. The protagonist charges forward, unleashing a powerful bee sting attack. He smashes into a massive armored enemy, sending debris flying. He smirks confidently, ready for the next move. His allies watch from above, realizing his attack lost momentum. The protagonist, determined, pushes forward despite the setback. He strikes the wall forcefully with his weapon. The weapon breaks upon impact, pieces falling to the ground. Falling, he desperately reaches out for something to hold on to. A wooden pole is thrown toward him, someone shouting for him to grab it. The protagonist reaches out, trying to grab the rope. He firmly grips the rope just in time. His allies pull the rope with all their strength. The protagonist smiles, relieved that he made it. The battlefield is covered in the remains of defeated enemies. A massive swarm of monsters gathers in the distance. The protagonist, sitting on the cliff, confidently declares his victory. His allies celebrate, grateful that they survived without any casualties. The protagonist smiles as people celebrate his victory. A system message confirms that he has exterminated a large number of Death Hoppers. He receives the title Exterminator, increasing his damage against insect-type monsters. His level increases by 3, and he acquires a new skill, Warrior's Intuition.